Is it? Yeah, I think it's recording. Okay, so yeah, this is a fun chin check for you people. A little bit different. Got a guest in the house. You know what I mean? So you should know the man is Mike Harrington, producer extraordinaire. He's 1-0 in boxing. You know what I mean? That's how we do, baby. We get pro athletes on this shit. Mike, thank you very much for stopping by. I appreciate it, man.
Yo, Kev, thanks for having me, man. This is really cool. I'm excited to do this.
Awesome. So it's been an interesting year, right? It's been an interesting year. Man, like we just remember, we started off with McGregor against Cerrone, and that was fire.
Dude,
like,
I mean,
that was a fun event.
how do you like? I'm so excited we're going into 2021 again with a Conor McGregor fight on the horizon, because it feels like anytime there's a McGregor fight, there's a certain buzz in the air.
I think that was the crazy thing, right? Because McGregor hadn't fought for, gosh, it was probably a year or something.
No, it was 2018, if memory serves me correct, right? He had fought in 2018 against Khabib. That was his last fight. And then he came back against Cerrone in 2020.
The Khabib fight was 2018.
I believe so. Am I wrong?
Jesus
I
Christ.
think it was October 2018 was Khabib versus Conor.
Man, like time, everything is just a mess. In my head, that was like 2019. 2018. Right. God damn. But yeah, I remember the whole thought at the time was, do people care? You know what I mean? Like, he's fighting Cerrone. Does anyone care? And then it sold out in like minutes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the gate was gangbusters. I mean, God bless Donald Cerrone, by the way. You know, I mean, that man has been putting in the work for years. Finally got his red panty night, man. Good for him.
Yeah, that was the thing. I wasn't mad at the matchup, because Cerrone is a good fight. We've seen what Cerrone can do. You know what I mean? He beat Mike Perry. The way he beat Anthony Hernandez, when Hernandez was like, you know what I mean? He was a firecracker on the scene, killing everyone. And everyone thought he was going to run through Cerrone, and Cerrone worked him. But yeah, Cerrone, he's just, when he gets to that big moment, he just freezes. That's the problem. And that's what we saw. But, you know what I mean? How many other people had done it that fast and like that? But Cerrone fought, you know, he fought Gaethje, he fought Ferguson. Neither of them did that to him. You know, and everyone's like, Gaethje can knock anyone out. Gaethje. You know what I mean? But Gaethje did not do to Cerrone what Conor did to Cerrone, which was.
I'm trying to remember how that Gaethje fight went down, because I do remember, like, it was pretty rough. I mean, Ferguson tuned Cerrone up. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Tuned Cerrone up. So, yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly how that. I mean, it was a TKO in the first round, but you're right. I mean, that 40 seconds, that McGregor blitz, like, you know, it there was something about it, like that meme on Reddit, you know, the motivated McGregor, like that kind of did show up that day. And it is like, yo, there's a reason.
Well, yeah, because it was the shoulder strikes. And it was just the way he threw those shoulders. It wasn't just the shrug that everyone does. It was just driving the shoulder into Cerrone's head, which was just like, we were just seeing some shit that we just hadn't seen.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're coming, you know, right in that December, we had Bryce Mitchell get, I think, the second ever twister ever in the UFC. And we're seeing shoulder strikes leading to TKOs. I mean, obviously, like what Joaquin Buckley did this year. I mean, there is one of those things, like, I don't know, dude. Like, I saw this thing yesterday where it was the 10-year anniversary of the Showtime kick, you know, and it's like, anytime I think I've seen it all in mixed martial arts, like some new shit comes out where it's like, why is that allowed?
Yeah. Because that is it, isn't it? Because sometimes some of these moves, they're out of like a Jean-Claude Van Damme film.
Get that.
And and you just don't think you think when you see them in the film, you're like, that shit wouldn't work in a fight. And then when you see something like that work in a fight, it's just like.
Then you see Stephen Thompson in real life and you're like, oh, striking can be beautiful.
I will say, I feel that the performance Thompson put on Saturday was probably, I don't know, I think that was one of his best performances that we've seen. Like, remember when he first came out and he pieced up Johnny Hendricks? I think what we saw was a more refined version of that.
Well, I mean, the Johnny Hendricks fight wasn't when he first came out. I mean, if you remember, go back a little bit, there was the Matt Brown fight where he got taken down 5 times, but outstruck Matt Brown almost 2-1, lost because, I think takedowns were just weighed more heavily back then. I don't remember the fight all that well, but, I mean, Matt Brown's a killer for anybody who's, in their very, very early in the mixed martial arts career, like Stephen Thompson was in his UFC run. I think he got 5 takedowns in that fight. Since then, he's been taken down once by Tyron Woodley in the first fight, once by Tyron Woodley in the second fight, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, there is something about that dude where it's like he is a karate striker. He's but it's like he has refined his game and leveled up so much in MMA. Like I would say one of his best performance, honestly, was the one where he got knocked out by Pettis. Like, he was piecing Pettis up. He looked incredible with that striking, and just like that is the scary thing about somebody like Pettis, where it's like you get into his orbit and that one big shot can put you down. But like, I don't feel like Stephen Thompson has ever missed a beat.
He hasn't missed a beat, but I feel there is some fights, like the Pettis fight, right? Because he was winning that fight clearly. But there's sometimes in fights you see him, I don't know, just lose focus just slightly. Like, it's kind of like, man, this is too easy. You know what I mean? It's like when they say people, they take a picture. Right. And I think sometimes Wonderboy does that. And that was the only reason Pettis was able to get that knockout on him.
Right. Yeah. I heard it described as, I'm trying to remember. I think it was Dominic Cruz, actually, who said it on one of the Fight Island cards. He was like, he's watching his work, like, and there definitely was something about Stephen Thompson coming over from the karate, like the point fighting karate world and then the kickboxing world, where it's like, it very much is like, I get a point, then I get out. I get a point, then I get out. And it's like, you can kind of like, ooh, look at that. Like, that was pretty dope because you're not worried about takedowns coming back at you or, So there definitely was that feeling to him early on. And this was just such clean movement. You know what I mean? It was the 1-2 step out and then another one off the step out. Like, it was a sight to behold.
Yeah, someone compared him to Roy Jones, early Roy Jones. And that was because it was just a head movement, getting out of the way of those kneel shots. Even when they were in the pocket, he wasn't hit that much.
Yeah, dude, he looked like Goku out there, dude. Like, just
I picked Neil to win that fight, and I just felt so silly. I was like, shit. It's this Wonderboy.
When we're talking about a guy who's the main crux of the thing there, like we saw it with Machida, if you're going to do that kind of stance, you need the athleticism and the movement, to keep up with that style, because as soon as you don't hit that line, as soon as you don't step out correctly with that perfect timing and land that perfect head movement, you get caught like in the Pettis fight. And like I said, we saw that with Machida when he went from being, like the champion at 205 to being, an also like let's call him a gatekeeper. You know what I mean? Like that's really where he landed at middleweight. So for somebody like that and Stephen Thompson, where you see 37 years old, hasn't fought in 2 years, coming off of an injury. Of course, like the natural inclination there is like, oh, this young athletic freak who is working as a waiter during the pandemic. Nobody's hungrier than Jeff Neal, right? He's got the power. He's got the composure. Yeah, of course I'm going to pick Jeff Neal against the guy who's 37 and whose game relies on youth and athleticism. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, because coming off those injuries, you're thinking maybe he's lost a step, and that's all that's needed. He just needs to lose just a second, and he's not the same Wonder Boy. But I think he showed us that he hasn't lost that, but hurt his fucking leg. Hurt his leg in the fight, which does seem typical Wonder Boy. He gets injured so often these days.
Right, but I mean, let's see what that is, because he was. Did you see, by the way? I think Stephen Thompson cursed.
Yes.
I think they caught him cursing, dude. I put it in the notes for BYM this week, and I think Music was just very kind and glanced right over it because, he said that thing about the kids. But, oh, man, dude, like, you could see he threw that right leg. He caught Holland. He caught Jeff Neal, and you just heard it with the 4-letter word. Just saw him mouth it. I was like, oh, my God, Stephen Thompson just cursed. Stephen Thompson. Like, dude, it's like seeing Cookie Monster take his head off on Sesame Street. It was crazy.
Oh man, but the fact that he hurt his leg and then he was still kicking with it is just crazy.
Dude, he's such a badass. Love that dude.
For real, man. And it's always weird though come December, because you talk about and you remember those fights that you've just seen, but there's been a gang. I forgot for a minute that Jędrzejczyk Weili happened this year.
How could you forget that?
Because it just seemed so long ago.
Sure. My only problem with that, anytime I bring up any fight, right, as like, oh man, that was a fight of the year contender, the first reply on Twitter every time is, yeah, but what about Joanna versus Weili Zhang? Like, that is certainly the bar that every other fight this year has been measured against in my mind.
Oh, because that fight was crazy. Because I thought Joanna won that fight. I thought, the thing is, the only reason she didn't get that fight, her fucking forehead. If her forehead wasn't like a friggin' alien, she would have got that fight. But I feel the judges looked at it and were like, oh no, she got fucked up.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I seem to remember having it 4-1 for Weili, but I don't know. I'm trying to remember what that was. I mean, it was so long ago. I just remember both being, like, I think it was one of those things. You might be right. Like, my coloring of the fight may have been skewed to be like, how is Joanna still standing with that gigantic hematoma? Yeah, I mean, Jędrzejczyk did outstrike her over the course of the entire fight. Yeah. The round by round striking, yeah, I mean, 30-30 in the first round, 32-20 in the second, again tied in the third, tied in the fourth, and then Joanna. So yeah, I mean, there's literally 3 rounds where they're tied in significant strikes. Joanna, the far more accurate striker, but Weili just kept putting a pace on her.
It was, I mean, because it wasn't a draw, was it?
No, split decision.
Yeah, and I could have gone a draw. If it wasn't Joanna getting a win, I could have been like, yeah, that's a draw. But I just thought that Joanna did enough to win that fight.
So I thought, here's the thing. I think I gave round 1 to Weili. If I remember this correctly, during the night, I gave round 1 to Weili, round 2 to Jędrzejczyk, round 3 to Weili, round 4 to Weili, and in my mind, it was like, oh, it's over heading into that 5th round. And that 5th round, Joanna put it on her. I mean, they were both going for it, but she definitely won that 5th round in my mind. So I had it 3-2. Weili Zhang. But yeah, I think any one of those first, 3rd or 4th rounds could have gone to Joanna.
Yeah, it was a fun-ass fight, man.
So I do like that concept, though, about the draws. You know what I mean? I've been a proponent for years that there needs to be more draws in combat sports. 10-8 rounds should be easier. If you're down heading into that last round, you should be able to have a comeback without having to separate your opponent from their consciousness. Like, that's only going to make the sport safer, in my mind.
Yeah, I think something else that has really glared its head even worse this year. Just bad judging. Bad judging.
You can't say that it's this year, man. I mean, I personally had Stephen Thompson winning the first Woodley fight. I had Stephen Thompson in a draw in the second Woodley fight. I mean, there has been bad judging for as long as I've been a fan of this sport, man.
Oh, no, for real, definitely. But I think this year, because we've literally had cards every single weekend, you know what I mean? And you're watching, you're able to go, hold on, that same judge did the same thing that other way. And you see patterns. Like you see these bad, terrible judges. And I think it's just, you know, it comes home a little bit more just because of the frequency in which we're seeing these things.
Well, that's why I'm the biggest proponent for open scoring. Not even necessarily to know what the scoring is going from round to round, but just having that graphic up every single week. Sal D'Amato scores this X, right? Because you don't listen when Buffer's saying like this person judged it, blah blah. You're just waiting for the blah blah. You know, you just want those numbers. You're not processing mentally who the judge is. But if you had to watch every single week with open scoring, these judges fucking it up in real time, people would get pissed. They'd be called out by name, and the commission, I feel like, would have to come down on those judges harder, would have to review those judges' work harder, and probably help, you know, get a better judging system in place.
I don't know if that's enough, though, to be honest, because, you know, there's been times when the judges do get called out, but the commission just do nothing. And there's been such egregious decisions, like when that one guy gave Felder to win over RDA. It was just like, what did he see? Felder didn't win that fight at all.
It was such a disappointment because I had this fight spoiled for me. Like I was out that night and I had the fight spoiled for, I think I was working a show, and I came back and I was like, oh man, split decision. This is going to be such a razor close fight. And I was like, oh, I just had to watch Paul Felder get hit for like, that hurt to watch. I didn't need to see it. That man's got 2 daughters. Like, what the fuck? Why did we do this? Like, I don't know. That was rough.
Oh man, like he didn't win. I don't think he won a round, but he wasn't just completely out of it. But no, it's just,
he was fighting like a high-level athlete who had 3 days fucking notice.
Yes. Yeah.
What are we talking about here? This is not normal for people to do. You know how hard it is to cut 20 fucking pounds off your body in 3 days when you showed up to commentate on a fucking, like, that's wild, dude. I'm sorry I didn't ask if I could curse on here.
Yeah. It's fine, right?
I'm sorry, man. I just got fired up about Paul Felder. That guy is a true badass, man. I really love that dude.
Oh yeah, no, I curse all the time. It's fine. Every episode is marked.
Hell yeah, dude. Explicit. All right, so you want to get into like some of these categories formally?
Oh yeah, so yeah, let's kind of do our state of the union of the year. I don't know. Do you want to go? What do you think? Submission, KO, fight of the year, breakout. Where do you think we should start on this?
Huh. I mean, probably save fight of the year for last because I feel like that's just gonna be the biggest argument. Let's go with knockout because people love.
Oh, we had some brutal freaking knockouts, man, and. Just think, like, this isn't even including the Contender Series.
For sure.
There was some knockouts on the Contender Series, man. So,
do you mind? I just have a quick question for you about the Contender Series, because you're in the UK, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so I mean, what time does the Contender Series come on for you?
I think the Contender Series is usually 1 a.m.
So see, that sounds so much more reasonable than having to stay up till 5 a.m. or 3 a.m, whatever. Like, what time does the main card usually start?
The main card is usually 3 a.m.
And you're done by like 5?
6. Because sometimes it's like, if it's a pay-per-view, it's 3 hours, isn't it? So yeah, we're usually done around about 6.
That sounds like a nightmare, dude. Like that is. I mean, here's the thing. Like anytime there's like a UFC card in like China, I try to do that. Like in solidarity with the BYM UK supporters. Like I just want to know what that life is like. And it is Dude, I mean, I swear, like I fell asleep and woke up just in time during Bisping's last fight against Gastelum. You know, like I woke up just in time for the main event there because like it is such a crazy car. I remember like trying to watch early Darren Till. You know, like he was always fighting on those like 4 a.m. cards for the U.S.
Yeah, it was weird. Although I forget I think it was the Wonder Boy fight. They put it on to fit American times. So a lot of times when they're fighting in the UK, it's, UK time. But yet there's a few odd cards, like when Bisping fought Henderson, that one was for American time. And so it was just like, it's in the UK. Why am I still up at 3 in the frigging morning? What's happening here?
Well, isn't that like a just like for a pay-per-view thing? I feel like if they have specific fight nights in England, like those are the big English cards, but those are usually on like free ESPN TV versus like the pay-per-views. If you're headlining a pay-per-view in England, it needs to be for the American pay-per-view market. No?
Was Bisping Henderson the pay-per-view?
Oh yeah, Bisping Hendo 2 was the pay-per-view for, I want to say, October of 2016. Let me check on that. Henderson versus Bisping 2. That was October 8th, 2016. Damn, dude, I'm good at this. Yeah, dude, that was I remember because Bisping talked about that. He's talked about it on the show a number of times, like that concept of like, hey, this show isn't starting until 5 in the morning. Am I even gonna sell a ticket? It's like, nah, sold out within
minutes, that sold out so fucking fast. It was crazy. But that's the thing, like, because we don't get like those high level cards. So when something like that comes here, that's gonna sell out. When we have like big artists come over, they sell out because we don't get it all the time.
That is pretty cool. I have a question for you. What is a bigger deal? Darren Till headlining at what is Liverpool Stadium?
Anfield.
Okay, so Darren Till headlining at Anfield against Izzy, or Conor McGregor headlining Crow Park against, pick your opponent.
It would be Conor.
It would be Conor?
He's just more well-known than Till. Like,
right.
MMA fans know Till. Everyone knows Conor. You know what I mean?
Okay. But I just felt like if it was specifically, I kind of just meant like, what's going to be like a bigger, rowdier crowd, like that Dublin crowd or that Liverpool crowd?
Oh, man. I mean, the Liverpool crowd is going to be rowdy because they are rowdy. But I think, Conor in Ireland, that's just going to be that would be insane.
Yeah.
That would be fucking crazy.
I mean, I think that's the card everybody wants to see, dude. Because remember, there was the Darren Till was supposed to fight somebody at he was supposed to fight Robert Whittaker in Crow Park, right? Or
I think they were talking. Yeah, they were talking about. But I think because Dana said it's like when the UK fights usually happen, the time of year, you don't know what the weather's gonna be like. You know what I mean? So it's just a bit like. It's an open air, I think it's an open air venue. So they'd have to do some shit to it, probably, to make that happen.
Yeah, and isn't there some kind of weird, like, I always heard there was some kind of weird restriction behind Conor ever fighting at Crow Park. Like, because, like, there's certain kind of noise ordinance in Dublin after a certain time.
Yeah, well, it depends where a venue is, right? Because they hold these big concerts in Hyde Park. It's kind of like Central Park.
Okay.
Not as big, but it's big, right?
Yeah.
And so they held these big concerts. I like saw Queen of the Stone Age there, the White Stripes, Jay-Z, so many people there. But they tried to bring in this law a couple of years ago where you couldn't have music after 9 o'clock, which then got overturned. They overturned that because it would mean you could have no gigs there at all.
Yeah, so, what is this, Footloose? Who's banning music? That's crazy.
Because it's in central London. right? So there's still residential kind of close to it.
Dude, I live in the Lower East Side of New York. It is so loud 24/7. You live in a city, dog. You knew what you were getting into, period.
See, but the thing is, right? It's an expensive area, right? If it was just, down the road, no one would give a fuck. But because all of the hoity-toity live there, right? They don't want to hear everyone screaming and shouting to Beyonce at 10 in the night. So they
have that much money. Move.
Well, the crazy thing is, those houses, they're not occupied all year round. So the chances are there's no one in when these gigs are going on. It's just some crazy ass bullshit.
They're that rich that it's just like Russian oligarchs who own a house in London on Hyde Park.
Yes.
Damn, that's pretty sick, dude. Yes. I want to get to that. That sounds pretty dope, dude. That's a nice life. You get Beyonce shows for free. Just walk out of your balcony. It's pretty dope.
Yeah, it's like that, and I think that's the whole thing with Connor and Ireland. I think probably where it's situated, there's too much residential, so you know what I mean. You have to be careful of noise when you're putting it on.
I don't know. There's just something about that to me. Like I'm, there's something about like when Connor comes out. Like I actually got on Fox Sports back when they were covering the UFC when McGregor fought Dennis Seaver in Boston. I went to the card dressed up in a full leprechaun costume, and like I got on the B-roll footage for like when they were like coming back from commercial or whatever to like show the McGregor fans in the crowd. It was pretty funny. But yeah, like that. Like there is something about that to me where it's like, man, I would. Just anybody, literally name the fighter. I don't care. Like I will move heaven and earth to get myself to Ireland to go to that fight. Like that is, I've seen Conor McGregor fight in Madison Square Garden. I've seen Conor McGregor fight in Las Vegas. The only thing I haven't seen is McGregor in Ireland. Like that to me would be, I don't know. There's nothing more next level than that.
I kind of feel if he got the title again, I think it could be a possibility, right? I kind of feel if he can get a title again, they might do it.
I mean, who's telling him no? Like, you could just make a title for that fight. Like, they made a title for the BMF fight. Like, you could make the fucking Lucky Charms title. Like, it doesn't matter. Nobody cares. As long as Connor's fighting somebody in Ireland with fucking rowdy Irish hooligans around. Like, dude, I would 100% watch that Diego
Oh no.
I would watch that Diego fight. If that's what it means. If that's what it means. I would watch him fight Diego Sanchez in Crow Park. 100%.
That's a badass. That's a terrible fight.
It's an execution, but whatever, dude. The guy's got one fight left on his contract. Like, let him get his fucking payday and ride off into the sunset, dude. He's the tough season 1 winner, and he's fucking jobbing to new guys. It is what it is. Let him get his payday.
Man, I think his new coach is probably taking all that payday money.
He might be, which I think he's starting to, break away from him. If I'm reading the tea leaves right, it seems like he's kind of figured out this guy's a fucking wackadoo. So I don't know, man. It's like it's funny and it's not. You know what I mean? Like the Mike Perry thing is only funny until the wheels come off the fucking train. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I look at somebody like. Like I've been out to Mickey's gym to train with Mickey Gall in Lebanon, New Jersey. And it's like, I look at him and the lifestyle that he's building. And it's like, oh, that guy is like, he's building his life around martial arts. Like there's no doubt in my mind, he is going to be a high level martial artist for the rest of his athletic prime. And then he's going to teach high level martial arts for once his athletic prime is over. Like he's one of the smartest fighters fighting in the UFC today. And there's no doubt in my mind as he continues to hone his physical gifts and rehab from his injuries, like that guy is going to be an absolute fucking killer. And it's like, I look at the guy who went into the Mike Perry fight and Mickey Gall, and it's like, yeah, Perry won the fight, but there's no doubt in my mind, like Mickey's winning the war, because it's like, it is sad to see a lot of these guys, like what the hell's Leonard Garcia doing right now?
I know. I know.
Like,
It's funny. There's certain people that you you recall from back in the day, and it's just like, where is that guy? Like, what happened to that person?
like I heard he's taking a bare knuckle FC fight in on a raft in China. Like, what's going on here?
Oh no.
You
Uh,
know, I mean, like fucking Crazy Horse. How long has Crazy Horse been in our lives? You know what I mean?
Jesus.
I've been watching Crazy Horse clips since fucking YouTube came out.
I know. I know. There's certain people, and you're just like, how are they not slurring? What's going on with that shit?
You know, I don't know, dude. It's a brutal game, and anybody who can get in, get out, make their money. I mean, God bless them. You know.
Well, that's the thing with Khabib, right? You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I respect the fact that he's walked away. You kind of would like to see him fight one more time, but then it's just against who?
Just have him, dude. Give up the belt. The belt never meant anything. Honestly, Khabib does more for the belt than the belt does for Khabib. Let's be honest right now. You know, after that horseshit with McGregor coming in, not defending, Khabib went, unified the belt, reestablished the lineage. You know, if you consider like that concept of like a lineal champion, you know, like that Khabib closed that loop. He became the interim champion. He got promoted to the real champion, but he still beat McGregor. You know, he's the last man to give McGregor an L. He made that he made that championship whole again. You know, otherwise we'd have the situation we had at featherweight for quite some time where Jose Aldo was walking around as a paper champ and we all knew it. You know, so in a situation like that, you know, Khabib, like I said, was doing more for the belt than the belt was doing for Khabib. It's time to put that belt on somebody new, because we've talked for years about how lightweight is such a division stacked with killers. Clearly, nobody's getting past Khabib. There's no point in continuing to do that. The one fight for him is GSP. Have him come back, Legends rematch, do it at International Fight Week 2022. Khabib picks the place.
I mean, that would be fun. That's
it.
Fun.
Dude, I mean, GSP came back for a Legends match against Bisping. You know, like that's all he's interested in doing. Like, you don't need a title to get GSP back. You don't need a title to get Brock back.
No. And they, you know, GSP did say if he did come back for Khabib, it's only that fight. He's retiring straight after that fight again. So having it for the belt, yeah, it does seem a bit kind of like, you don't need it.
You don't need it. And Khabib's at a point where I think he needs to stay retired for a year or two. Because he has accomplished everything, right? Yeah. And let that gnaw at him. That question: is he the greatest, or is George St. Pierre the greatest? Because that in my mind, I think Michael Bisping is the greatest middleweight of all time, and I think right now the greatest of all time across every division, GOAT of the sport, it's between Khabib Nurmagomedov and George St. Pierre. It's only those two, right? I don't think John Jones is in the conversation. I don't think DC's in the conversation. I don't think Conor McGregor's in the conversation, right? I think of the greatest of all time, it's 1A and 1B. And it's like, that's going to gnaw Khabib eventually that he's 1B.
It may be, because Khabib is a different animal. It's like the money doesn't seem to matter to him. You know what I mean? He's not living that lavish lifestyle. But what I think, because he's got his new fight promotion. So where he's around that, right, and he's seeing the success of his guys, I think that is the thing that could pique his interest. You know what I mean?
I mean, I put this in the notes for BYM as soon as I saw the purchase. I was like, I guarantee Dana's going to figure out a way to leverage this into Khabib coming back for one last fight. It's like, there's just, you know, like it could be a thing where he's like, yo, I'll give 10 of your top guys contracts, you know, just come back and fight one time. I'll give them all fucking base, 5-5 contracts. And like, you know, you get a piece of all those guys. You know what I mean? Like that's how it works. He's their manager, whatever. You get 10 guys in if you come back and fight GSP one time.
No, it wouldn't be that. It wouldn't be that. What it would be, because Khabib wants to get MMA into the Olympics. So it would be something like Dana helps him do that in a way. Because maybe the Olympics are like, oh, well, you know, we need, you know, the organizations to do this thing. And Dana might normally be like, I ain't doing that shit. But he'd be like, all right, Khabib, I'll do it. You come back. You do one more. And that might be the thing. Helping
I
to
don't
beat
hate
the
it.
Olympics.
I don't hate it, dude. All right, so knockout of the year, because we are
Yes.
moving right along here. We got about an hour left.
I mean,
dude, we've literally covered one knockout.
Yeah. I mean, Adesanya Costa.
The humping at the end was a bit much.
It was, but you know what I mean? And listen, this being says this to you all the time. Chat shit, get banged, right? And Costa was running his gums all the time, threw the belt in Izzy's face. Like, he set the rules. Costa set the parameters of it. He was just like, anything goes. When he threw that belt, anything goes. And if Costa had won, he'd have been gloating. He'd have been gloating. He'd been like, skinny legs. I told you, blah 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 blah. But when it's reversed, motherfuckers don't like their own medicine.
I don't think he would have. I think that's where you're mistaken. Like Israel Adesanya made this point, right? In the embedded, when they bumped into each other, right? Like Waleed Ismail, Costa's guy, actually put this footage out, which blew my fucking mind, right? They came up, sized each other up, put their hands on each other, which blew my mind. Like, I can't, like, they just like touched each other on the shoulder, you know, or on like the bicep or whatever. Like, you know, like, yeah, just checking in. Costa was a perfect gentleman to Israel. And it's like, oh, he was just selling a fight. Hey, Izzy, he just made you so much money. Do not hump the man in the cage. Like, straight up, Costa sold this fight better than Izzy ever could have sold this fight. All that shit talking by Costa got people to show up and watch Izzy and be like, you know, I kind of do hope he knocks him out. Dude, this guy just got you fucking paid. Don't hump him. That's crazy.
I kind of think it depends who Costa's with. Because when he's with Eric, you know what I mean? Cejudo's manager, them things get squirrely. Because that dude, you know what I mean? He changes the atmosphere in the room, right? And I think that's where it gets crazy. When he's with that dude, that's when all the crazy shit starts getting said.
I don't know, dude. I mean, the guy is, it feels like he has like 4 or 5 pocketed lines for everything. And it feels like that same corny, like, you know, like, did you get McGregor's joke writer on here? Like, what are you doing? You know, like, you're talking about his earrings, like, you got him for your, like, that's cute. You know, like, in broken Portuguese English, you're trying to insult the guy saying he's got girls' earrings. It's like, you guys are cage fighters. You can literally wear whatever the fuck you want. It doesn't matter because nobody can talk shit to you on the street. You know what I mean? Dude, if you are the fucking world champion, you could literally walk around with a dildo on your head and nobody would say a fucking word about it. You could do whatever the fuck you want because nobody's talking shit to you, period.
Oh my gosh. Very true. This ain't.
And it's like, okay, cool. Now Israel Adesanya just sold whatever it was, 1.3 million pay-per-views or some kind of crazy number where it's like, Izzy's never had those highs before. Izzy became a pay-per-view star because of the Costa fight, not because of the Whitaker fight, not him winning the belt against Gastelum, not the Silva fight. You know, those all helped build him in the MMA community. This made him a crossover superstar. This made him possibly like the next big thing and set up that Jones-Izzy fight to be the biggest fight maybe in the history of the UFC. And you're going to hump that man in the cage. Look at how Conor McGregor treated Jose Aldo after that fight. He's like, look, you know, it was a lot of shit talking back and forth. It is what it is. It was to sell a fight. He's a great competitor. You know, any given day, anything can happen to anybody. I train hard. I prepare. Like, very humble in victory, right? And I feel like that's what grew his superstar.
Well, Conor's always been very humble in defeat. You know, he's been very analytic.
Very humble in victory. It's a little bit of the showmanship. You know, give me the money. But he always respected his opponent. Always respected his opponents.
Yes. But I don't think, because the thing is, with Aldo didn't really say much. I mean, it was Conor coming at him. So it's easy. But Costa was going at Izzy. And I think that's the slight difference.
Yeah. All right, I understand what you're saying. I'm sure there's a number of examples I could point to. I mean, fucking, all right, maybe not. I don't know, dude. Bisping knocking out Rockhold immediately was like shaking his hand, hugging him, like being cool to him. You know,
fucking when Rockhold was a dick.
Yeah, I mean, Rockhold started talking shit after getting knocked out. He got banged, then chat shit. It was insane.
That was some baffling shit. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Bonkers. So no, I'm not gonna make that my KO. Two of these on here I really liked. Back to back, you had them posted. UFC 256. Kevin Holland off his back.
Oh my god!
I had a dream about this. Bang!
That was
out of a movie.
That was crazy. Because it's the way he used his leg as a pivot. You know what I mean? To give him the momentum to land. And that first strike that hit Jacare, you just saw him go, huh? You know what I mean? And then it was done. Oh shit, it was done. That was, yeah, that was nasty. That was not. But
yeah, that was really sick. Next one up.
What I kind of thought was nasty, Jordan Levitt against Matt Wymans.
Was that not the same card? I felt like the same card. No, it wasn't.
No,
it wasn't.
No,
okay.
no. Yeah, because the Levitt was on. I think Levitt was Halloween. That was Silver Hall, right?
Levitt was Hermanson versus Vettori, which was the
week before.
The week before, the week after. Yeah.
The week before. Yeah,
it was because Holland was supposed to fight Vettori, then he got moved to 256. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so those were back to back. Damn, those were 2 in 2 weeks. That's crazy. Ooh. Yeah, that time was wild, dude.
It was just the way he framed the head. Put his elbow there and slammed him. And as soon as he slammed, you just saw Wyman just go cold. It was like, damn. And then the fact he was out for so fucking long.
Yeah, I mean, that was like Bisping. I can't remember if it was Bisping or Chael or whoever it was. They made the point on the following episode like that should maybe be illegal. Like, you know what I mean? Like that is way too violent of an action. Like that, like there is, somebody's gonna get fucking paralyzed doing that. You know what I mean? Like that is too crazy of a weapon, and I feel like guys are gonna be able to start looking for that now.
I definitely feel that, now we're gonna see people try and frame the head when they slam, but now I think you could probably do something to limit it, maybe. I don't know. But I don't think we've never really seen a slam like that. You know?
Yeah, that
was. We've seen bad slams, but not like what Levitt did. Because that was just something. Oh, that was crazy. That was really fucking crazy. But that was a brutal one. You know, one I forgot. I forgot. Oh no, I don't think it happened this year. I was gonna say Amanda Nunes' head kick on Jessica Rai, but I think that was last year.
No, that was Valentina.
Yes, Valentina. Yes,
yeah, that was last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, the one that I had that I didn't see on here was Hamzat's one-shot KO of GM.
Jared Marcher. Yeah.
I mean, it was just filthy. Like, we're talking come out, cock it, load it, bang. Like, what are we doing here?
I had forgotten about that one. That was
a star-making knockout.
Oof. That was nasty. That was some nasty shit.
Yeah,
but, I mean, but was that worse than Chaos Williams against Abu Razak Al Hassan.
I'm trying to remember that one because I remember it was absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think just the fact that he was, fighting at 185, fighting at 170, and then coming back up to 185 to land a one-shot knockout against a guy who has had a pretty fucking strong chin over the course of his UFC run in GM3. That is to me, I don't know, a little more impressive.
No, for real. Hey, when we talk about knockout of the year though, I think we gotta mention, well, there's two. And Corey Sandhagen against Marlon Moraes, and Jan Blachowicz against Dominic Reyes.
Okay, I mean both of those were pretty nasty. I mean, I think the Blachowicz thing is more. I don't know, dude. That's just Polish power, baby. Like I'm, that didn't feel like any. It didn't feel special for a Jan Blachowicz fight. You know what I mean? So like I can't necessarily put that in the same ranking as everything else,
I mean, I do think the others I don't think it wins, but I think it needs a mention because everyone I feel Blachowicz was counted out. I think people thought Dominic Reyes was going to run through. I think they thought Dominic Reyes was the heir apparent. Everyone thought because I didn't. I feel John won that fight, but a lot of people thought Reyes beat Jones. Right?
Oh,
so they thought he was going to destroy Reyes and Blachowicz even.
No, I mean, styles make fights, dude. It is what it is. I mean, somebody like, Jones, if you really look at it, right? Jones, since he came back from the jail time and all that, it was really the Obenstein Proof fight, like he just kind of labored his way through that one. He had the knockout against DC with a kick that he literally set up 3 years prior to that, like he had the book on DC, and unfortunately, and as much as he's one of my favorite fighters and one of the greats to ever do it, John Jones just kind of had his number. So I don't really give as much credence to that, but like he doesn't have that same explosive one-shot power that he used to, where Blachowicz is like, I'll eat 2 to give 3. My power is going to come across a little bit stronger than yours. And, for somebody like Reyes, who relies on, pressure and volume and somebody like Blachowicz, I don't know. It seemed too easy to me for Blachowicz. So,
yeah,
I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I'm sorry.
I think it is Blachowicz. Yeah, Jan Blachowicz. Oh, yeah, no, actually, yeah, Blachowicz. Like yeah. It's not Blachowicz. It's Blachowicz.
All right, I mean, Joaquin, you got to put Buckley up there. Catch the kick and then the heel of the face. Pretty sick.
Oh, yeah. That was some next level bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I don't know, like that's a weird one where it's like, he like his last fight was, if I'm not mistaken, he just go to a decision?
No, he stopped Jordan Wright.
He did.
Yeah, beginning of the second round. He caught him at the end of the first, and he caught him with a big shot at the end of the first round, and then you're just like, I don't know, 30 seconds is gonna be enough. And then the second round started. Wright is trying to, keep his distance, and Buckley just, fucked him up on the fence.
Huh. That is, I mean, he got, I don't know, like that's pretty cool because he did get caught by Holland earlier this year in his debut. But I mean, the 2 wins by KO since then, sensational. Got a Kanye West song. I mean, that's, how do you top that for knockout of the year? Like, how many of these other knockouts got Kanye West songs?
I mean, yeah.
Did you see that video Dana put out yesterday, by the way, about like, kind of just sucking his own dick for how good he did during the pandemic?
You know what? I ain't mad at that, right? Because
I'm not either.
Because this is the thing. You know what? I think this year really highlighted how terrible MMA journalism is. Because you think of all the shit that went down this year, and everyone was just like, Oh, Dana, he's putting everyone's life at risk. You know, the UFC shouldn't be holding events. Then when the event went off perfectly, everything was cool. No one came out and was like, you know what, I was wrong. No one came out and said, I was wrong.
Just all these motherfuckers, dude. They all just wanted to be right so bad. They just stayed quiet and they quietly wrote fucking hit pieces every time somebody popped. And it's like, no, instead we're just being fucking safe at every turn, spending $18 million on COVID tests this year.
Well, they criticized, you know, oh, wait, the announcers are sitting close together. Wait, Rogan's interviewing people. Oh, bro, they should be shut down. They shouldn't do it. And it was just like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Crazy.
But they
and like these assholes who wouldn't have jobs. They wouldn't have jobs without Dana White creating a sustainable business model for this sport to fucking flourish, right? And every single one of those ungrateful bastards was rooting for the UFC to be put on a shelf so they had nothing to fucking write about.
I know.
And so these fighters could lose tons and tons of fucking money. Yeah. It's insane to me. These are independent contractors. They can't apply for unemployment. If they let them go make a fucking living, it's crazy.
Well, that's the thing that blows my mind, right? Because everyone's talking about the Ali Act and all of this stuff. And it's just like, but which organization kept everyone working? Because Bellator, you could say Bellator have got more money because they're backed by Paramount, right? So you could technically think they probably have more disposable income. But they didn't put on half the events. Didn't do it.
Well, I mean,
it's kind of crazy.
The UFC is in that unique position, right? And this is where everybody comes out with fighter pay, right? It's like, you got to remember, the UFC has a $4 billion note on top of them. They have investors who kicked in part of that $4 billion who are owed returns on said investment. You know, there's balloon payments that have to be hit. There's, you know, so the sport has to continue growing at the rate that it is, which is baked into the fighter pay thing to get out from under this $4 billion loan, right? And once they can get there, once the company itself is solvent and tradable, like the NFL is, like, you know, whatever, like, you know, once you're an institution, then you can argue for, you know, the negotiations or whatever the case may be. But until then, we all have to be on the same team so that there is still a sport in 10 years.
Well, yeah, but this is something that people always forget about, right? Fighters eat, train, and rehab for free at the PI. Oh. So on top of your contract, you get that. That, like, no one talks about that when you're talking about contracts, because how much would that shit be if you had to pay on your own?
Well, like, look at somebody like Johnny Hendricks. You know, the only reason the guy is still fighting is because he made a deal. I don't know if you know the story. He made a deal. I heard this when I was very new to MMA fandom, where he essentially, like, gave 20% of his future earnings away to some guy who, for his housing and his food and his training while he was coming up. And when he became world champion, that seemed like not a ton of money. And then before you know it, a couple of bad investments, and you got to go fight Paulo Costa at MSG for fucking whatever, you know, not championship money anymore, because, you know, these people got their hooks in you. The UFC lets these guys earn, you know, it's a meritocracy in every sense of the word, because guys like Khabib, guys like Conor McGregor, guys like GSP can write John Jones can write his own ticket now, you know?
And more, like Amanda Nunes.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I'd imagine Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I think Wei Lee's probably made a nice little sum just on a few fights.
Sure. And it's like any one of those people, if you are good enough at your job, if you train hard enough, right? If you become the best martial artist in the world, you can make lotto winning money. You know what I mean? Like, you will be paid like a superstar athlete, period. Become a superstar athlete.
Well, I think that's what it should be, right? If you
100%.
work hard, you get paid. If you don't, you don't.
I like the
Why should
5.
you get paid for doing nothing?
I agree. I like the 5-5 contract, right? Because you have a chance to earn an extra 100,000 every time you go out. Every single time you go out, you can get a 6-figure paycheck by getting a performance of the night bonus in the fight of the night. Period. You can get that, right? So go out there and let your, it's a meritocracy, right? You fight that first fight on your contract. It's a 10-10 fight. It is what it is. You got to prove yourself. Everybody did, kid. Everybody's got to pay their dues. By the end of that 5-fight contract, right? If you win 5 split decisions, right? They got to pay you 10-10, 12-5, 12-5, 15-15, 17-5, 17-5, and then 20-20. Before they know if you're good at all, they've sunk 130 grand into you and maybe a performance bonus because you had some good fight against another also ran on the prelim cards. They've got 250 grand invested into you, plus training, plus food for all those years, plus the money they got to put into marketing you, marketing your fights, marketing your game, whatever the case may be, right? You're also making Reebok pay. You know, you could make $300,000 in your first 5-fight contract and not be UFC caliber.
Yeah, and it's still more than an undercard on a boxing card.
So much more.
Yeah,
so much more. And that's the thing. It's like they actually let these guys have a situation where they can live while they're coming up. They can survive while they're coming up in the sport. The UFC has fostered that where no one else has.
Yeah, man. Definitely. It's crazy.
So last one for knockout of the year, both on the same card.
So I believe it's Cody Garbrandt and Sean O'Malley.
Who had the better knockout?
I mean, if you ask Sean, he did.
Who do you think had the better knockout?
I would probably say, technically speaking, Sean. Like, visually, Cody's one looks more sensational.
Okay, I disagree with you fundamentally, right? Because the problem with Moicano, right? If I'm not mistaken, that's who he was fighting, correct?
No.
Oh, it was the Sun Sao. Sorry. I confused those two because they have very, very, very similar games. Do they not?
No.
How do you figure?
Wait, Rafael Assunção and
Rafael Moicano. I'm telling you, I've always made the comp between the two, and I always confuse the two because a lot of their game is just counter striking and movement, right? They hit you, they can't get hit. They want to win 3 or 5 round point fighting matchups, right? That's why they're never going to be bigger than gatekeepers because they don't chase the finish. They're not exciting. They're not superstars, but they can string together 5-6 fight win streaks by just being, you know, extremely good counter strikers with very good movement and very good, you know, grappling, wrestling, whatever the case may be, where they can hold their own, but they make their bones on the feet point fighting, you know?
I would say Assunção is probably more of a pressure fighter than Moicano.
You think?
Yeah. I mean, his style has changed in the last, you know, in the latter half of his career, but early Assunção was definitely more of a pressure fighter.
Really? Okay. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I didn't really, I mean, I don't know. I got into the sport like hardcore, I would say, in like 2008, 2009, maybe 2010, somewhere around that range. So, you know, for me, like I was never a big WEC guy. So the lower weight classes never really did anything for me. I didn't truly start getting interested in them until that whole dust up with TJ Dillashaw and the and Team Alpha Male, you know? So I don't I can't process really early career of Sun Sao. I only know the guy who went and lost to TJ Dillashaw in the rematch. That's a lot of what I saw is that like, I'm just going to land and then get out, land and then get out. You know, very frustrating counter fighter in a number of those fights. I mean, I'm going to pull up his record here, but so in my mind, the reason why I thought it was so good was because I felt like Cody was baiting that in, you know, like this is a guy who's going to, you know, he's going to counter fight and then try to strike. He's going to counter strike and then try to move out. And I feel like that would have frustrated Garbrandt in the past, where in this fight, he was able to bait out the exact counter strike that he wanted from a Sun Sao before delivering that big kill shot. And that was Garbrandt,
that was definitely a better performance from him, because against Munez, he,
Munoz.
yeah, he, you know what I mean? He was not patient at all. So the performance he put on against Asuncao, you could definitely see that, you know what I mean? He put in more work on the training, you know? So yeah, I would say he did bait that. He definitely did bait that.
I felt like it was a horrible matchup for him. I thought there was no chance he was going to walk out of there winner, and he proved me dead wrong. You know, that was, for me, like, I feel like the Sean O'Malley fight versus Eddie Wineland, like, did anybody think Eddie Wineland was going to beat Sean O'Malley? Did anybody?
I mean, before that fight, Wineman has had a really good performance. And Wineland, he's got that herky-jerky style. So you might not have thought he would win, but you didn't think it was going to be that quick. You didn't think it was going to end like that.
Sure. I guess it was, I'm not going to say it wasn't impressive. I'm not going to say it wasn't a striking clinic put on by O'Malley. I think there was a reason that Cody Garbrandt and Asuncao were, roughly like minus 130, minus 110. It was very close on the betting lines who was going to win that fight. Wineland versus O'Malley was not at all. He was supposed to go in there and beat up a guy who's clearly past his prime, who clearly cannot hang with the elite young stars of the division, which O'Malley is claiming to be. Garbrandt is a former champion who is in there against a championship contender, like gatekeeper level person. It's like, if you can beat Rafael Asuncao, you're in title talks, period. That's been the case for 5 years now. You know, like, what are we doing here? He went and knocked him out, and it was just beautiful. So for me, that has to be like, that levels to this shit kind of thing. You know, like, that's my guy.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone that stands out as, you know, the best for you, would you say?
So, I mean, it's recency bias, I guess, but, I mean, Kevin Holland against, for me, it's between Kevin Holland against Jacare and Buckley, with the back kick. I mean, the reason I brought up the Dana video is, you know, he talked about the growth on social media, and the Buckley thing is the most shared thing that they've ever done. It was a viral sensation, made him a superstar overnight, made him a household name overnight. You know, and then he backed it up with another incredible performance. So just as a thing where it's like, I feel like we're going to be looking at that on the Baba O'Reilly montage at the beginning of every card for all time. To me, that's going to be on there forever. The Levite Slam, probably going to be on there forever. I don't feel like any of these other ones are. So, you know, Holland maybe. I don't know if you can convey that easily in a video package. You know what I mean? Like, Bisping knocking out Rockhold is an iconic image.
Yeah. And Bisping just running with his arms in the air. Yeah, sure. That's just...
Like Conor knocking out Aldo. Iconic image. You know? Conor knocking out Eddie. So it's like, which one of those belongs in the pantheon? And to me, it feels like we're going to be seeing Buckley's, you know, back kick the highlights the same way we see Showtime kick highlights 10 years later. So that's my pick.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's solid. I feel I'm going to go with Levitt.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because I just thought that was just so brutal. But yeah, for me, I think it is between, you know, I think Levitt, Buckley, and Holland are the three leaders in that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Boer's obviously great year from him. I mean, there's so many good ones on here, but yeah, I mean, it definitely is between those three. I see what you're saying with the Levitt one, because I remember jumping up and like screaming to my roommates, like, "Yo!" Like, that was so next level. I feel like everybody was talking about it for like 2 days online there. It's what everybody walked away from an incredible card talking about. So, you know, that is, it's tough to argue with that one. So, you know, I appreciate your pick on that.
Yeah. All right. You know, as we're just talking about Kevin Holland, why don't we breakout stars of the year?
Okay.
Because I feel that everyone is going to say Khamzat. But I don't say Khamzat. I say Holland.
Yeah, I mean, Holland is kind of my, like, he's like he's Masvidal before Masvidal. You know what I mean? He's a disrespected veteran, and he's only like 10 fights into his fucking career. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Kevin Holland has one of the. Did you hear this? Kevin Holland only got his start because he went on the Contender Series. He was talking shit to his opponent during the fight. Dana White hated that.
Yeah, I remember watching the fight, and all the way through, Holland is just yapping. He is yapping, and he's turning and talking to Dana, and he's yapping, and it was insane. But he didn't get the contract. But then you see him up against Thiago Santos, and it's just like, yo, and he's hanging with Thiago. He didn't get knocked out. He went the full. You know what I mean? And I think it was a point, Santos hit him. He was just like, ow, why he hit me so hard? And it was just like, what the fuck is happening here? Even Santos was like amused.
Dude, so apparently, the story I heard is he got that Santos fight as punishment.
Yeah.
Dana White didn't like his performance, didn't like the shit talking, was like, oh yeah? All right, come in here on short notice, fight a guy who legitimately should be fighting for a title one weight class up. Take your lumps and then fucking see you want to keep talking shit. And he did. He kept talking shit. Has only one loss since then.
Yeah, I think it's not just punishment, but it's kind of like, okay, you're saying you'll fight anyone. Show and prove, motherfucker. There's like all these people, you know what I mean? Be like, I'll fight anyone. Anyone. Just name the day, and I'm there. You know what I mean? And then when Khamzat was like, who wants to fight me? Everyone's just like, And then when he's got a fight booked a few weeks later, not as soon as ink is on paper, it'd be like, oh, wait, I just told my agent that I was fuck, damn, I missed out. No, these dumb motherfuckers waited a few weeks and then we're like, I'll fight Khamzat. And you're like, he's got a fight. What the fuck? So you have people who will claim they will fight anyone, but don't. And I think that was the thing. I think that Holland was saying he'll fight anyone. So he's just like, all right, fight Santos. And he was just like, okay. But he fought 5 times this year. 5 times. Wait,
like
post Corona as well. So not at the beginning of the year. It was 5 fights since the comeback.
Dude, it's 5 fights in 7 months.
Yeah.
May, August, and then September, October, December.
Yeah. And he would have fought November, but the fight got pulled.
He was supposed to fight. Who was he supposed to fight in November?
I forget now. But
it was the week before he was supposed to fight. It was the first week of December he was supposed
to
fight.
No. There was another card, right? Someone dropped out, and he was just like, I'll take that fight. But something happened. I think maybe the other guy got COVID. Something happened, and that fight didn't happen.
Okay. Holland was scheduled to face Mahmoud Muradov, replacing the injured Krzysztof Jotko on the Halloween card.
Yes.
He was put up against Charles Ontiveros. Was scheduled to face Jack Hermanson on December 5th, replacing Darren Till. On November 28th, it was announced. Okay, so it was supposed to, I'm just reading, it was supposed to be December 5th. I don't see another one on here on his Wikipedia, but I think that might be the one you're thinking of. He was supposed to fight Mahmoud and instead got Ontiveros.
Oh, no, it wasn't that one. There was another fight. Maybe it wasn't completely confirmed. And he just said, I'll take it, but then something happened. But there was another fight that was getting talked about. But 5 fights in 7 months.
3 performance bonuses, a knockout of the year contender, and the record for most wins in a calendar year in the middleweight division. I mean, how do you beat that?
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I feel you can't give it to Khamzat. He fought 3 times.
Okay, well, I mean, let's go through the rest of this list. I mean, you got Dawkins, 2 fights, 2 wins, 2 big wins. I feel like it's still a bit early for him. You know, he's an undersized heavyweight who's fighting, you know, a lot of the not ranked guys who are also rants. You know what I mean? They're not contenders. So, I mean, he's got promise. I'm definitely excited to see where he's going. Buckley got knocked out by Holland this year. I can't put Buckley over Holland. That's crazy, right?
And the way he was just like, hey, you got something in your nose. Thanks, man. Boom.
Bonkers.
Oh, shit. It was crazy.
It's so fun. Blachowicz, you know, I mean, he won the title. I don't think he needs this. I mean, I feel like I've had this kind of thing in my head recently with like the disrespected veteran title. So it's like it was Tony Ferguson at lightweight for the longest time. Charles Oliveira stole that title from him. You know, like veteran, the quote unquote dark horse in the division who doesn't get enough respect. I think right now it's between Neil Magny and Michael Chase at 170, for instance. You know, there's Leon Edwards is in that position for better or worse at middleweight right now. You know, like that guy who's been in the sport a long time, has a long win record, and just nobody seems to respect him as a title contender.
I think with Leon, it's because of frequency of fights. I think that's it.
It's also the excitement level of those fights. Let's be honest here. I mean, Leon Edwards is, you know, how many of his fights have ended in you know, highlight reel fashion?
Yeah, I mean, there is that, you know. But you look at they were great performances. But
I mean, Dos Anjos decision, Gunnar Nelson decision.
But that was a great performance against Nelson, though.
Not arguing,
yes. But
not arguing that it was
it doesn't light people up.
No,
so I mean, that is the problem.
Dude, knockouts put butts in seats. You know, guys like Bryce Mitchell who can pull crazy submissions out of nowhere, put butts in seats. You know, I there's something about Leon Edwards at the top of a pay-per-view that just doesn't, like, I'm not reaching into my pocket necessarily for that. You know, it's just the cold hard reality as a fan.
I mean, yeah, I see, I do get that. And that is why, because he hasn't fought recently, it's harder. Right. You know, it's hard. So if he beats Khamzat, even if he beats Khamzat by decision, that's going to be big for Leon. I mean, that will give Leon a lot of credit with the fans.
Yeah.
They will want to see him fight more.
What do you think is a bigger fight for him right now? Usman for the belt or Masvidal to get back for 3-piece and a soda?
I mean, I think if he fought Usman, right? Fight Usman, win the belt, then the Masvidal fight's there. It's like Conor and Nate 3. It's gonna be there. So Masvidal will be there. But it will be a bigger fight for Leon if he beat Usman. You know what I mean?
You get pay-per-view points for the champion. That's just how it is. So get that belt and then, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
okay. So, I mean, just to go, so I don't think the reason I brought all that up is I think Blachowicz was just there. He was the disrespected veteran of the category. You know, I mean, his only losses were to the absolute elite of the division in a lot of crazy ways. And he avenged most of his losses, has become a better fighter. And certainly with John Jones gone, I see him being like a good stalwart champion to you know, lead this new breed of light heavyweights. I don't think I love the fight with Izzy next for him. I would like to see him defend the belt against Teixeira and some of the other killers at 205, but, you know, it is what it is. Bobby Green had a shot to take that Kevin Holland spot. I think he had 5 fights this year, went 4 of 5. You know, incredible year from Bobby Green. I used to call him $1 million talent with a 10-cent head. I think this is, you know, a much more mature Bobby Green this year that we've seen. So I'm very happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did think he won that last fight. I thought he won that last fight. But, you know.
I'll be honest with you, I don't think I saw it. I'm trying to, I think I fell asleep during it. Not like during it. I think I fell asleep a little earlier in the card and just slept through that fight. So It's a shame, but Bobby Green was on the show this year. He's got a great personality. He's reinvigorated his love for the sport. I thought he was going to wreck Dustin Poirier when the two fought at UFC 199, and I could not have been more wrong. Bobby just showed flashes there, right? He had like the flashy style, he has the power, he's got like the slickness and the head movement, but it's like you just stood in front of a masterful boxing striker in Dustin Poirier, and you got knocked the fuck out for it. Like, what did you think was going to happen, buddy?
Yeah, that was old Bobby. But yeah, this new Bobby Green, I'm liking this new Bobby Green, man. He's definitely got new understanding on, what he needs to do inside the octagon.
For sure. And I'd like to see him continue to take fights. He certainly is like getting to that point where he's ready to almost take on a ranked fight. But he is coming off a loss, get one or two more wins against these up and coming contenders, and then try to make a run at this, Bob, because I definitely do think he has superstar talent. He's got superstar talent in his talk and in his hands. It's just a matter of putting everything together for him.
Yeah, definitely.
Another guy who I think, honestly, Bobby Green is up there for this, and for sure, Glover Teixeira, most improved fighter of the year. Maybe not the breakout, but guys who are just fucking phoenixes rising from the ashes. How good was Glover this year, man?
Jesus, like the crazy thing with Glover is there was that time, and we saw him get like overwhelmed by fighters. He takes that big shot, and then it's all falling apart. This year, he takes that big shot. We've seen him on the verge of losing, but he just hones that experience. He ties them up, he recuperates, and then he comes back and he finishes motherfuckers. It's just, Glover really just, I don't know, it always seemed to fall into place for him, man.
So I remember the Memorial Day card, it was the fight against Gus, right? That's where he just went in there and like kept taking those fucking uppercuts over and over again. And you were like, what is Glover's head made out of? Like, how is he taking much damage? It's crazy. And I just remember like thinking like, my God, dude, he's superhuman to keep taking that kind of punishment, and now to go from those kind of shots to like letting Anthony Smith gas himself out by punching Glover in the head. Like, excellent strategy, Glover. If you're gonna Homer Simpson your way to a title, dude, like, God bless you.
And then knock Smith's teeth out and apologize for it. You know what I mean? It's just like, shit, Glover, man.
Dude, I loved it. Lewis actually coined this. He was the Brazilian zombie. Like it was insane. He just kept coming. You could not put that guy down. So God bless him, man. That was one hell of a year from Glover Teixeira. And this is why I don't like the Israel Adesanya moving up to face Blachowicz, because Blachowicz versus Teixeira is such a fun fight for the 205 title. Make that the second. Make that the second fight on the Conor versus Poirier card, or the Nunez versus Dern card, or whoever,
It's Anderson.
There you go.
Yeah. I know. I would love to see Glover get that shot.
Yeah, I think we all would.
But that the Adesanya fight, that's going to make more money.
Yeah, and I think the problem is that what they're actually trying to set up, and as much as it fucking annoys me, they're trying to set up, Izzy gets the belt, Jones Izzy an international fight week in July at 205. Like, Jones left, he's not going to let Izzy walk around with his belt, do the fucking fight at Las Vegas Raiders Stadium, 100,000 people there, whatever. It's the biggest event, arguably, in biggest event since McGregor Khabib, certainly.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. That is the perfect scenario. You know what I mean? It's the perfect scenario for that to happen. But to be honest with you, right? If you think about it, it might not be a bad thing for Teixeira to have a bit of time off, because he took some big shots this year. And he's older, so a little bit of time, a little bit of time to get that head all settled, and then he fights, the next title holder. I think that could work.
He's getting to that DC style of taking one fight a year.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. I mean, how old is he? Is he in his 40s yet?
I think so. I saw him fight in the WEC with hair the other day.
Dude, he is 41 years old. I mean, he's not getting any younger. I don't like Blachowicz was saying the same thing. I'm not getting any younger. He doesn't have much longer for the sport. Like, what are we doing here? Give us the fights we want while you can still give it to us, Dana. Like, don't, if this pandemic has taught me anything, like, don't fucking wait for your chickens to hatch. Like, the best laid plans can go awry at any point. Just give us the fights we want when we want them, and people will continue to show up.
Well, I think but that's the big thing, right? Anything could happen. So have Teixeira as the alternate, because who knows what happens. So have Teixeira as the alternate, and he could slip in the back door and get that fight still.
Yeah, but that's weird then. All right, Teixeira comes in for an injured Blachowicz or a COVID Blachowicz, and he fights Israel for the interim 205 title, I guess. And then you put the interim title against Jets. So fucking weird, dude. I don't like that at all.
No, but I'm thinking more Izzy gets injured or ill.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
Yeah, it doesn't work the other way around, but
it's very weird the other way around. But if you have Glover there as a backup, he has to be willing to step in for either guy.
Well, yes. But in the perfect scenario, he steps in for Izzy.
I don't know. We'll see. I don't know, dude. I would honestly love to see a superstar fight between him and Rakic. See if Rakic is ready for a title fight. I mean, there's so many good guys at 205 right now, and I feel like another thing, like lightweight, so long has been ruled by Khabib that what are we doing here? We finally have a breath of fresh air at 205. Let us get some of these interesting fights, possibly for a title.
Yeah, it's just what combination do you do? You know what I mean? There's a few good fights that can be made at lightweight.
Oh, yeah, I agree. There's a few good fights at lightweight. There's a few good fights at light heavyweight. Apparently, I was just reading something. It looks like Dan Hooker might be Michael Chandler's debut.
Interesting. Because, everyone assumed it would be Gaethje.
Yeah.
Which I don't quite get why.
I don't know what you're doing there. You're blowing your load, if you ask me. I mean, let Chandler debut against a good let Chandler prove himself, and then you build to a superstar fight between him and Gaethje, possibly for an interim title, or what. Like, there's so much out there. There's so many interesting fights out there. Oliveira versus, the winner of McGregor versus Poirier is, that's my pick for next interim title fight. But but yeah, I'm looking at 205 here. You got Santos, you got Reyes, you got Rakic, you got Jiri Prohaska. Like, that's another guy.
Yeah, that
year off one fight.
He looked good against Uzumir. He looked crazy. He looked good, though. You know what I mean? I'm definitely interested to see what he can do in that division.
Nikki Thrills is back. Johnny Walker is, he's definitely an up-and-comer. Misha Serkinov is back, still looking dangerous on any given day. Magomed Ankalaev. Jim Crute, who I love. I fucking love that dude. He's a badass. Paul Craig, shout out Scotland Massive. Jamal Hill. Ryan Spann, I thought for sure was going to win that fight against Johnny Walker. He still has a ton of potential. So, yeah, dude, 205 is stacked with talent right now. Let's start having a bunch of those fights, and let's shift some things around in these rankings. But, yeah, I think that's everybody for Breakout Fighter of the Year. You're going to stick with Holland, right?
Yeah, Holland's my Breakout Fighter of the Year.
The one guy we didn't put on here, Deiveson Figueiredo.
See, I get the Figueiredo talk, right? And he would be the one if he hadn't missed weight. He missed weight in that first fight, and that's the asterisk for me.
Yeah, according to Bisping, your job as a fighter is to show up on weight, ready to fight. That is your job, not to win, lose, whatever. Your job as a fighter is to show up on that date, on weight, prepared to fight, like the fight of your life. And, he didn't do that. I agree that's, shit. But, it made weight for 3 other fights this year. 3 title fights only because of the missed weight thing. He certainly would have had another title fight in there somewhere else. I mean, the guy made the fastest turnaround 21 days. He didn't win both fights, but he did defend his belt. To me, it's between Holland and Figueiredo. Hamzat is a third. If he had gotten the Edwards win, I think there's no doubt in anybody's mind it would be Hamzat, but we don't know how that fight would go. I mean, we saw Bobby Green tried to go 5 of 5. He wasn't able to get it done. Chaos.
That would
Chaos
be
Williams,
wouldn't it? Chaos.
Yeah, no.
For free.
I understand. I'm just saying, like, if he had gotten like another stellar knockout win, Chaos Williams might have been on a list. If Buckley didn't have the, it is what it is. I think it's really between those 3 fighters, and for me, because of the 5 of 5 and going from somebody who was an interesting side addition from the Contender Series to somebody who's a legitimate title contender, and Kevin Holland is, like, Darren Till legit called him out yesterday. I'll believe you me.
I was saving that episode for my kettlebell routine tomorrow.
Hell yeah! All right, I'm sorry to spoil it for you, but yeah, I mean, he did talk. He talked a little bit just about how interesting it would be to do the shit talking beforehand and then in the cage with a guy like Kevin Holland, and like 2 guys who can certainly like make people laugh, entertain people, get people interested in a fight. Like, that feels like the one where that would really bring both fighters up a level.
And that's a fun fight. I mean, I wish Darren had, said it on here when I asked him to come on, but whatever. He wants to go and do Believe You and Me.
Yeah, I mean, what is he doing? Come on now. What are you doing, Darren? It's at Polar Funk on Instagram. You should for sure answer those DMs, Darren. What are you doing?
There's a lot of people that need to answer their DMs. There's a lot of messages that have gone out. But we will see. We will see. 2021, chin check, blowing up. For sure.
So I mean, for me, obviously, Kevin Holland. Not obviously, but yeah, Kevin Holland.
No, I agree with your reasoning for the fighters that are in contention, and I do understand Figueiredo. You know what I mean? And if he hadn't have missed weight, for sure Figueiredo. But that's the only contention I have, and that's why I say Holland. But do we have time to look at submissions?
Oh, I thought we had to do female breakout of the year.
Oh yes, good damn, yeah. Well,
I only have the 4 names here. I mean, Hildern, Hebos, and Maverick. I mean, I don't know who Miranda Maverick is. Do you?
Yeah, she fought in Invicta.
Okay.
She came in. She had a great win. She had a really good win against I can't pronounce the girl's name. God damn it! It's one of those, Eastern Bloc names with the
Liana Zhao.
Yeah.
Zhao?
I don't know. I kind of feel it doesn't sound like that when Dan Hardy and whatnot pronounce it. But she had a great win and it was the lead. She hit a lead elbow that fucked that girl up. Oh, it was nasty.
Okay. I mean, still though, that's only one fight.
It is. But Maverick is more like, I don't think she's not going to win it, but I kind of feel that she should be there because she shows so much potential. You kind of look at Maverick and you think she will be challenging for a belt.
I mean, same thing as that Dawkins pick. You know what I mean? Like, you're only going 2-0. It's 2 knockouts against unranked people. It is what it is. But I mean, that's how I felt about my girl Macy Barber last year. Like she couldn't really be ranked among the elite, but she certainly did. At least put people on notice. Somebody who I feel like made that jump this year, Amanda Hebos.
Oh my God, Hebos has just looked so good. And the crazy thing is, right, we know she's legit on the ground because Dern's dad is Megatron, but Hebas's dad is another jiu-jitsu legend.
Is
So
it?
she is great on the ground, and her stand-up, whew, she looks good on the feet.
Yeah, I mean, last year she had the win against Mackenzie Dern, winning the decision there. I mean, she had a good debut in 2019. I remember coming out to the Paige Van Zandt fight. I was arguing with Lewis about this because I watched it at his place. He was like, like they're putting her in this fight to make her a superstar as Paige exits the company. You know what I mean? Dana's very good about that, right? Like he did it with the Johnny Hendricks fight, did it with the Rory McDonald fight. Like he knows how to maneuver these things where these fighters are on their last fight of their contract. I'm going to give them to an up-and-coming contender who I think could be the next big thing. And I remember saying to Lewis as she was coming out, I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be bouncing my kid on my knee one day telling stories about the great Amanda Hebas, and then immediately comes out, fucking blitzes Paige Van Zandt, gets the submission. I'm like, oh, I may be eating my words. Like, she is cute as hell. She can talk. She's a fucking wizard on the ground. Like, she is a problem.
Yeah, she's legit. She is legit. And she's saying that, you know what I mean? She's probably going to move up in weight at some point as well.
Again, to bantamweight?
Mm.
Because she's at flyweight right now, came up from strawweight, got the 3 wins at strawweight, jumps up to flyweight, wins her flyweight debut. If she can compete in all 3 weight divisions for the women's side, that's something we've never seen before, and that's something that's very, very interesting.
Yeah. I think she could possibly maybe move between straw and fly at the moment, and then probably in a few years' time, you know what I mean, that cut to straw will be a bit too much.
Right.
And we'll see her go to bantamweight.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Dern is going to have to make that same path eventually too. But I mean, that's another one who talk about writing the ship, man. Last year she has that loss to Hebos, and it looks like she's in rough shape. And then same as Holland, doesn't come back until May, and then 3 wins in 6 months here. That's 7 months. That's incredible.
Well, the crazy thing is, she had the baby. Had the baby, and you kind of thought, well, she's going to be out for a while. She came back, I think it was like a month later, and no more issues cutting weight. No more issues cutting weight. It's insane. Yeah.
But I mean, she did lose the decision her first fight back, so it's like maybe you shouldn't have come back a month after having a fucking kid, dum-dum. You know what I mean? Like, take some time, enjoy having a child, and then get back to fighting people. Like, this is bonkers to me. But no, I feel like in 2020 we've seen a different Mackenzie Dern. I feel like working with Perillo is will take. I said this on Twitter, right? Like, Ariel's like, Jason Perillo doesn't get enough credit. I'm like, no, Perillo gets plenty of fucking credit. Everybody knows how good Perillo is. Like, he takes good fighters and makes them great, and he takes great fighters and makes them legends. Like, it's
just that Perillo doesn't hog the limelight, right? There's certain people that want to be in front of the camera, and Perillo is he's cool to be chilling in the back.
Yeah. He's the fucking man, dude. He is, of all the people who I've met while working on Believe You Me, like, of the people I've just gotten to hang out and kick it with, Perillo might be my favorite, dude. He is just the coolest fucking guy, man. Like, the coolest guy in the room at all times is Jason Perillo. And, like, certainly somebody who, like, if you're out for the night and somebody starts chatting shit, give me my Rolodex. I mean, if I can't call Bisping, Perillo is the next one I want having my back for sure. That dude does not hesitate. He's a fucking killer, B. I love Perillo. So yeah, I definitely think working with Dern, you've seen it, like that footwork she had, and being able to completely change her game as somebody who came in as a strictly submission specialist to put together the kind of performance she needed in that 3rd round with a broken nose, with blood streaming down her face, facing as much adversity as we've seen. For her to get that win is like, that's leveling up.
She put it on J.G. Rober in that 3rd round, and like, she had knockout wins, and she had a couple of knockout wins in LFA, but her hands.
No, she didn't.
She was winging everything. So
She had no knockout. I'm looking at Mackenzie Dern, right? Her record right now.
Yeah. Wasn't it?
In
Oh,
Invictus, submission,
yeah.
submission, submission. I mean, I'm sure it was club and subs. You know
No,
what I mean?
yes, that was it. Yeah, she hit the girl and then she armbarred her, I believe. I think that was it. Yeah, no knockout. But yeah, but her she was winging shit. And under Perillo, we have seen the striking definitely redefined.
Right.
You know? And I think a few more months, you know what I mean, a bit more time, and we're gonna see, definitely a dangerous Dern on the feet.
Yeah. Yeah, then the other one you had on here was Angela Hill. I mean, she took 4 fights in 2020. I mean, she got the win over Hannah Cyphers, and that looked good until you saw what Hannah Cyphers did with the rest of her year, and it's like, yeesh. You know what I mean? Like, lost to Mackenzie Dern and then 2 other people I've never even heard of. So I don't know how great of a win that is. Loma looked I'm not even gonna try that last name.
Lola Lumbukme.
Okay.
Yeah, she is
Book
very
me.
good. She is very good.
Really?
Like, in her last fight, she really, she's made correct. But she came from Muay Thai kickboxing,
You know what? I do remember that fight on the home versus Aldana card because for whatever reason I was super bored that weekend. Had absolutely nothing going on in New York, so I do remember watching that fight and thinking, "Man, that was, she did have a great performance in that fight." So yeah, I'll give it to you. That was a very clean win. The Claudia Gadelia fight lost split decision because it's an Angela Hill fight. Michelle Waterson lost split decision because it's an Angela Hill fight. I mean, I can't really call her a breakout when she's doing the same thing she's always done, but she is an entertaining fighter who's always like, anytime I see Angela Hill on the card, I'm like, hell yeah, dude, I'm ready for a very fun fight. And I feel like it's why she's becoming a fan favorite. If not, can't consider her a breakout.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It was just hard to think of who'd you put on? Because, Nunes didn't fight that much. Like, I mean, you can't call Valentina a breakout, you know what I mean? So it gets a bit more tricky with, the ladies.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the ladies' ranking. Like, I mean, Jessica Andrade, but it's like, okay, what did she do this year? She had a very controversial decision loss to Rose Namajunas. I thought she won that fight. I think that was, some pretty rough decision there. And then, I mean, the comeback win against Chukagan in her flyweight debut, now ranked number 1. I mean, you can't call her a breakout when, she nearly ended last year as a champion. You know what I mean? Like, her last fight in 2019, she walked into the octagon with a belt around her waist. She doesn't have a belt around her waist this year, so I can't call her a breakout. We've seen her hit lofty heights before, but certainly very interested to see what she does in 2020. I mean, down the list: Aspen Ladd, Caitlin Chukagan, Nina Ansar. Like, what are we doing here? Cynthia Calvillo, yeah, she had the fucking, the debut win. I don't know. This is crazy. You know what I mean? Like Joanna, Jan, Carlos, like I think that's it. For me, it could have been Jennifer Maia. Jennifer Maia certainly had a very compelling fight against Valentina, and then the gutsy win against Joanne Calderwood. I mean, she's up there, but nah, I personally think I would give it to Dern. She went from being like a pretty face and like is she just a Brazilian jiu-jitsu specialist to, somebody who I would not be mad if she was the co-main event on like a big fight night card now. Like I wouldn't mind if she was on the main card of the next big pay-per-view. Like I'm interested, I'm invested in the Mackenzie Dern business. So to me, it's either her or Hebas.
Yeah, no, I'd say Dern. Because I think Hebas, we've seen her perform at that level. Like, we know how talented she is. And Dern, we knew she's great on the ground, right? She had the weight issues, but she's corrected the weight and she's added the stand-up. And so I think Dern is the one that has made the most pivot. You know what I mean?
I agree. So yeah, I think Dern is that, and if we're being honest here, to get to I feel like for Hebos at this point in my mind, for her to reach breakout status, she's got to win a belt, you know, and it's like that's a lofty, you know, expectation to put on someone. But right now, that's where I think her career trajectory is going. So anything short of a belt for her, and I'm like, I don't think she's going to be happy with it.
Oh yeah, no, she definitely wants a belt. She definitely wants a belt. So
I mean,
I think next year we will see her fight someone in the you know, the top 5.
yeah, I think that is her trajectory. I mean, get a top 10 fight, and then, you know, at those women's weight classes, if you're a star and you get a big win or two in the rankings, you're next in line, because there is no stars there. They need to. It's the 3 champions, you know, like the only one who's given those champions a fight are other champions or Joanna. Like there needs to be another star. I feel like Andrade is that right now. Rose is waiting in the wings, but like the lighter weight classes have it, the heavier ones don't. So, you know, Hebos becoming a star at flyweight next year and maybe challenging Valentina, that is something I'd be excited to see for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I might die if I don't go get a pee soon. And I need to go start my other show. So you want to end this here and we'll get to submission and fight of the year on the next one?
Yeah. We'll do that. That's
all
fine.
Right. Hell yeah. Absolute pleasure, Kevin.
Where can people follow you, man?
You can check me out every week on Believe You Me, Mondays and Thursdays. We record it, so it drops on YouTube midnight Eastern, Tuesdays and Fridays. So check that out. You can catch me on Twitter and Instagram at them Harrington. I'm non-binary now, so, you know, deal with it, suckers. And yeah, I don't know. Thank you so much for having me, man. This is super fun.
Cool, man. Thanks for coming by. And yeah, until next time, man. Until next time. All right. Peace.